What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Roundup here on Touchline Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content I put out. Only two things I want to cover this weekend. I want to stay focused on them. First, what happened in the Bundesliga. Bayer Leverkusen, one of the more difficult games of the season at Red Bull Leipzig. This is a team that obviously has not lost in any competition all season, trying to stay in front of Bayern Munich, go behind not once, but twice, find a way through set pieces to equalize a second time, and then ultimately get the late winner. It felt like one of those turning points in the Bundesliga title race, one of those moments where you go, maybe this is actually going to happen. And then Bayern Munich go to lose to Werder Bremen, and all of a sudden it becomes a massive weekend, I should say, at the top of the Bundesliga table. Because it looked like at one point Leverkusen were going to lose. They end up winning, Bayern lose, and now this title is Leverkusen's to lose. Of course, still early, it's still Bayern Munich. But the thing that stood out to me in this game for Leverkusen is they didn't play great, particularly in the first half. Once they had to take the initiative and were trailing, so they had nothing to lose, then they got better in the final third. They got better in attack. But even in the first half, when Leipzig had the better chances and were playing the game the way they wanted to on the counter, there were still moments where Leverkusen were awfully impressive. It didn't turn into much. They didn't create a lot of great chances. But there were moments you just went, wow. And that is one of the most impressive things about what Xabi Alonso has done, is that even when it's not working, this team looks really, really good. They're really good to watch. And then ultimately they do start getting things to click in the second half. This was just a really entertaining game between two really good teams. Xavi Simons was really good for Leipzig. And second, it was a great game to watch because of the contrasting styles, where both teams were happy to have the same thing happening, which is Leverkusen dominating the ball, Leipzig playing on the counter. What changed from half one to half two is that Leipzig were getting the better chances on the counter in the first half. In the second half, Leverkusen were more dominant in terms of the opportunities that they created. Probably didn't deserve to win. Again, it wasn't this inspiring performance, but they found a way. That's what you have to do when you're trying to win a title, when you're trying to take down Bayern Munich. Bayern do them a favor. And so here we go. Leverkusen even further ahead in the Bundesliga as we're getting into the second half of the season. This is becoming more and more real. The second thing. Sam Mewis announced her retirement from professional soccer because of this knee injury she has been battling. And I want to talk about this for a couple minutes. Usually when you are in this really sad situation where not just a professional athlete, but an elite player within the professional athlete ranks has this kind of injury, a career-altering, career-defining potentially injury, usually one of two things happens. The player, or just even generally the players that you associate with being injured a lot are having major injuries. Either they are never available enough, even if they are still playing at a really high level when they are healthy. A good example of this is Neymar. Right? Part of Neymar's legacy is the injuries. Neymar's time at PSG, more than anything else, is defined by the Champions League games he was not available for. And it's unfortunately becoming a big part of his Brazil legacy as well. The tournaments he has not been available for because of injuries. You think about that more than you do the great moments. And of course, there were some in a Brazil shirt as well. And he's obviously a great player. But not being available has become one of the defining characteristics of his career. That's one side. The other side is suffering a really serious injury and just never being the same player. And the example you always point to with this is Derrick Rose. There was that 1 to 2 year stretch where Derrick Rose was one of the at least 3 to 5, we'll just be safe, best players in the NBA. MVP level player. The reason why the Chicago Bulls were NBA title contenders. And then he tore his ACL and had some decent seasons, has obviously continued to play in the NBA, but never the same player. So usually you either get this one peak, these couple great years, or you just feel like it's all incomplete because of the injuries. And either way, you're left wondering what could have been. It goes without saying, I'm just going to say it anyway. The biggest part of all of this is how sad it is that Sam Mewis' career ended this way. That's also the obvious part, so I don't want to spend time breaking that down. It's really, really sad. You feel for her. It's not fair. It's awful. All of those things, of course. But there is a positive to take away from this in a way that you can flip this in a positive manner, and that's what I want to do. Sam Mewis is 31. Sam Mewis basically hasn't played since the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. Despite both of those things, Sam Mewis does not fall into either of those two categories I just described. It was never if she just wouldn't have gotten injured, you wonder how good she could have been for how long. The Derrick Rose thing, right? And you don't think about the games that she missed, the tournaments she missed. You think about the brilliance and the consistency from basically when she entered the NWSL through 2021. 2019, 2020, she very well may have been the best female soccer player in the world. She very well may have been the best player on a team that won the World Cup. She had that point in her career where you got to see just how great she was. And she's also won NWSL titles. She was an integral part of what might have been the most dominant professional sports franchise in the United States during that time with the North Carolina Courage. She's played in major tournaments for the U.S. women's national team. She was a consistent member of the U.S. women's national team. To me, that is the positive, the light to hold on to here. Is that nobody has to wonder what it would have been like without the injuries. Of course, had she not gotten injured and not had this awful knee situation, she would have had great years left in her career. And it's awful that she didn't get to have that and that she's having this taken away from her at the age of 31. But from a legacy perspective, she had nothing left to prove. You don't have to go, you had to be there for that one tournament, those couple years, so you just don't understand. You saw she has a complete body of work. And she's got U.S. youth national team accolades, college accolades, you can go down the list. But that is the other part of this I was thinking about as she announced her retirement. There have been just waiting to see if she can get back, kind of what the prognosis has been, what kind of recovery she's able to make, and eventually she's decided wasn't going to happen, or doctors, whatever. She decided that the time had come for her to officially retire. But it doesn't feel like there is anything missing from her career to me. And that is an incredible thing to say about somebody who, again, is 31 years old and who was basically done 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. That is a testament to how consistently brilliant Sam Mewis was. And she's one of those players on those teams that isn't going to get a lot of recognition individually because she scores some goals, but she's not a goal scorer. She's not a goal creator. She is a complete elite midfielder. One of those midfielders that I continue to believe is the most underappreciated position in the sport. Not necessarily a traditional 6, but whether it's a more holding midfielder, a box-to-box midfielder, the people that don't show up in the stat sheets but run the show and win their team games. She was one of those players. And so I am choosing to look at the bright side here and at least glad that there are no question marks about this. You don't feel like you missed anything. Of course, she had to leave a lot of the table, and it's cruel and it's unfair, and you absolutely feel for her. But she also has all of this to point to. You have all of this evidence in terms of just how great she was. So that is the one way to look at this, that at least we're not left wondering what could have been, what might have been, because Sam Mewis was able to show us just how great she was, even with her career unfortunately getting cut short. So congratulations on a phenomenal career. Really excited to see what she continues to do in the media field. She obviously made a name for herself with her Snacks podcast with Lynn Williams. She's clearly good at this. She has a passion for this, so I'm excited to see how she's able to continue to stay involved in the game working with Men in Blazers. So congratulations once again, Sam Mewis, on a brilliant career. That is all for this edition of the Weekend Roundup. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.